Kind of annoying. Welcome to our first podcast. We'll be talking about multiple different things in sports world, especially rugby. So today we're going to be talking about we come from South Africa, so our Springbok rugby squad, who we think positionally is going to be the best. So starting at number one, loose head prop, one choice for me, Stephen Kitshoff. Not just because he's ginger like I am, but like he's just been really good the last while with his ball steals and so on. Looking at that, bro. He has been really good with ball stealing, which you kind of expect from Marks, and then his scrumming is also probably one of the best loose head props in the world currently. So for me, definitely number one choice. And then behind him, you kind of have Ox in chair, who's not bad, but definitely first choice Kitshoff.
I have to agree, but I would say that you could also switch Vincent Cook onto loose head from time to time.
Bring some versatility.
But definitely Stephen Kitshoff to start. He's been very informed lately.
Absolutely. And then moving on to hooker, Malcolm Marx.
There's only got to be one. Malcolm Marx. I think he's the best player in the world right now.
For sure, he's great. Ball stealing, scrumming, line out, not making many mistakes. Our second option would be Bongi Mbonambi or Dweba. I'd say Bongi's better.
I would also say Bongi.
More experienced.
Dweba's also feels a bit
definitely inexperienced, and his line outs, and as we've seen in the past, also really not great. So I
don't know if he's ready yet for the big games.
Yeah. Maybe your warm up games against smaller teams, but then again, you can only bring that many per position to the squad. Okay, tight head prop. We have quite a lot of people there, actually. You have
for me personally, it's Mr. Incredible Vincent Cook.
Vincent Cook, definitely. Then you have Frans Malherbe. Another person who we kind of forgot about, to be honest, is Volko Low. He played for the
he's pretty good.
Extremely good scrumming, but just like France as well, not really good in the running game, which is really where Vincent Cook comes in, because he can make some good carries.
I also say Vincent Cook because of the trio of Stephen Kitshoff, Malcolm Marx, and Vincent Cook.
Yeah, they're really good together. They're kind of like a power couple, three-way. Not in a weird way, but they are good. Okay, then your two locks. Now, we've spoken about this for like combinations and so on. You want to make them work together well. You kind of have your one being good enforcer, I think, and one liner. That's my personal opinion on like on how your lock coupling should be. So for me, Eben and Argia are top at the moment, but then you also have Lutz and so on.
I have to agree. Eben Etzebeth is one of the best we have right now, and he can also fall back as our captain.
Exactly,
from time to time.
He's
very good player to have on the field. And then I would also agree with Argia Sneeman.
Yeah, he's great. His running game and his offloads are really great.
I also like his haircut. So
and his haircut is insane, bro. I would smash. Anyway, okay, and then we have our loose trio being our two flanks and our eighth man.
Now this is where it gets really hard.
It really gets tough here.
Sure, you got Evan Roos, Marcel Coetzee, Dion Fourie,
exactly,
Kwaka Smith, Sia Khaleesi.
The list
just goes
Peter Steph, do we name Peter Steph there? It just, Franco Mostert, all those guys. Jasper Visser,
There's overall great players.
Exactly.
Lots of squad depth.
Exactly. So I'd say, you kind of already have Marks and now Kitshoff as well for ball stealers. So
I kind of take out Dion Fourie.
Exactly. You don't need a ball stealer. You don't need you don't need a fetcher, really.
I would also take out Kwaka Smith. Very good player, but there is some above him.
You kind of just want someone, you can actually go for a heavier enforcer role, someone big and strong to just add weight to your pack when it comes to the scrums. So for me, Peter Steph, he can play lock if he has to. So there's a bit of versatility.
And then Peter Steph at 7 though.
At 7, yes. And then your blind side, what they're probably going to do is put in Sia, having been our captain for so long. But I would definitely like to see some young blood.
Evan Roos, that's the name I want to see.
Evan Roos. Or what's the guy's name?
Marcel Coetzee.
Marcel Coetzee.
Yeah, that's
also another option. And then eighth man, we spoke about this earlier as well.
I feel like it's just got to be Dwayne at the moment. He's right very in form.
For a while, we were definitely doubting. He's getting old. Everyone says he's getting old, then he's not gonna perform. But I mean, the last 2 games he played, he completely proved us all wrong. He's still physical and he's got the experience. So.
And personally, he would be my captain on the field.
Oh, no,
the way he led in the past couple of games was really impressive. He led us to victory. And I think he just brings the team together.
Yeah, he's been Springbok for so long, and he knows his game. So, okay.
Number 9.
Backline, number 9. Also, hot debate going on there.
So you got Faf de Klerk, Cobus Reina, Grant Williams.
Herschel Yankees.
Herschel Yankees, I feel like he's not good enough at the moment.
No, he really peaked the last World Cup, but then he went through a bit of a dip, so I don't know about him. And then many people are saying Jaden Hendrickse.
Yeah,
he's solid.
He's good, but
he hasn't been playing.
I also feel like he's not as consistent as someone like a Cobus Reina who every single week shows up.
And he's a workhorse, Cobus Reina. He just keeps going.
For me personally, it's Cobus Reina because
starting.
He's just great on the ball, but Grant Williams is also really impressive. So if he can show
his 2 games that he played, I was amazed.
If he doesn't go out in the first 50 seconds of a match, then maybe he can actually prove himself.
Exactly. So, you'd like Grant Williams there, and then we didn't really speak about Faf starting, but I think he kind of had his time. He still is really good in some aspects of the game, especially his defense. His defense is really great on point.
But I feel like
at the moment, for our style of rugby that we're playing.
Yeah, and also with the other teammates, I think it just works better having someone like Grant Williams or Cobus Reina.
Someone who gets the ball out quickly to a fly off, which is going to be our next talking point.
I also see Cobus Reina as quite a good leader in the back line.
Also had a lot of experience.
He's also playing overseas and everything. He's learned to adapt to a lot of game styles.
Greatly skilled player, yeah. Okay, fly off. Ooh. Well,
fly off.
3 options.
There's one main option, but he's injured.
But he's injured. We should be Andre Pollard. His kicking is always consistent. You can also play him on the inside centre if you have to. So he's a bit of a versatile player.
Also, he plays well with a lot of other people like the Jesse Creoles.
Exactly.
Lots of chemistry between a lot of those players with Pollard there.
Having played together for a long time. So I think he's obviously top choice. I think Joaquin Noble and those guys will put him in as soon as he's back from injury, even over the book, even though he hasn't really practiced, which I guess isn't necessarily right. But I mean, he's been injured before, and then he comes back and he proves to us again that he's just the best we really have.
There's a couple of names that you can go with. Manie Leboeck. I mean, even Damien Philipse, which personally I wouldn't put there, but
he's just not consistent enough. And he mistakes, you can't have your mistakes at fly off.
He's not clinical.
Keep control.
It's not consistent enough. But another person that you could consider bringing somewhere into the squad is a Cohen Bosch as well.
Definitely. I honestly, I think they should have put his name in the hats.
Yeah,
instead of Elton Yankees.
He should have had a chance, and I don't think Elton Yankees is good enough for Springbok rugby anymore.
No, he had 1 or 2 decent games in the last season that he played, and then he just is in a Springbok jersey. He's never really performed for me, and then the whole scandal going on. So
I don't think he deserves to represent the green and gold.
No, not at the moment. So, so Manie Leboeck then. I was very impressed with him in the last few games. As a Stormers fan myself, he's really.
I must agree. He was really solid.
Yeah, he brings a lot to the table. Unfortunately, his goal kicking it has good days and bad days.
He's very inconsistent with kicking.
With his kicking, yes, but the way he attacks the line is just great, making space the whole time. He can put in that cross kick and everything.
That is one reason why having Faf is sometimes a good option, because Faf can also
kick. He's a kicking option as well. So yeah, definitely for me. It's between Pollard and Leboeck, but it'll probably be Pollard and you have Leboeck on the bench. You always need a fly off on the bench with a 6-2 split, especially. All right, centers. Another very interesting one. Inside and outside centre, you're always looking at very important pairings. together. You know, you have one physical guy, one skilled guy.
I think
and
the
on
most
defense.
important thing is not who's the two best players. It's the two best players that can work together and bring
how
the
they link
best
up.
product.
Exactly, because
You should see them as one.
That's where
in
your
my
gaps
opinion.
form in your defensive line as well. You know, if you don't, if one of your centers miss, the other one's forced to come in, and that's exactly how the overlap's created. So you've really got to have a strong defensive and attacking pairing.
There has to be very good chemistry.
Yeah. So the old combination since 2015 World Cup that me and you personally always liked is Damien and Jesse.
Yeah.
Damien being the more physical crash ball. Jesse with amazing defensive reads. We spoke about that so much. He's really amazing.
And in these past couple of games,
exactly,
he showed how versatile he is. When he switched to left wing, he was still playing a top class rugby game.
And he's got pace. He's got so much pace.
He's honestly great at the moment.
Yeah, and if you have to, you can put him on a fullback as well. He can kick far, you know. So Jesse Kriel's also brings a lot to the table. So then you also have inside centre being Andre Esterhuizen,
Who was really
skilled.
impressive.
Another person with a big boot from the back if you really need to. He can be physical and he's got the skills. You know, I watched an interview with him where he said when he played for the Sharks, you know, he was kind of just that typical crash ball, South African rugby. And then the Harlequins kind of forced him to develop his game a bit, and I think that helped him a lot. You know, he's putting through a little grubber kick over here and a nice offload. So he's also a very good player at the moment.
Which us as a South African team actually do a lot. You see Dialendi also try and grab us the whole time.
Yeah.
And then Villy at the back doing the chips. We always incorporate little kicks into our game.
Exactly, and if it works, it really works well. We just got to be more clinical, like a New Zealand side almost. You've got to be a bit more clinical on how you execute it then.
Yeah, but for me personally, it's definitely Jesse Kriel over I don't think Um's good enough or consistent enough at all.
That's another talking point. I wouldn't say hatred, but our dislike in Bukani Now, I know the rugby world's kind of raved about him quite a lot, but in my personal opinion, if you look at, and at some point we actually got to get a video of this and like describe it in this like a bit of a schematic and so on. But for me, the main problem with is on defense. You know,
he creates so many overlaps.
You know, when your outside centre doesn't trust your inside centre to make the tackle and comes inside, immediately now you have an outside centre, a wing, and the fullback can still come in. So now you have a 3 on one wing, and then automatically the blame goes onto the wing, and that's not fair either. And that's exactly how, especially the last while, and I think the last season as well, many of the tries we gave away was just people running right around us, just because of that one player just going in and not making his tackle.
And his attacking is decent, but I don't think it's good enough. If you look at the Jesse Kriel's, the Dialendis, the Estes, and it doesn't match. It is better than him. Yeah. So for me personally, it's Jesse Kriel and Estes, or Jesse Kriel and Dialendi. It's very hard to choose that inside center.
I think the inside center is going to be a tough one. And you know,
I would kind of start Dialendi just because of a bit more experience and playing with in the Springbok jersey and playing the whole time, and then have Estes as a big impact player, as I believe he will come well off of the bench. Another person to look at for inside center though, which they'll maybe consider, he did play pretty well for the Stormers at inside center for a little while. Also not my favourite because he's inconsistent, but Damien Willemse, he can play inside centre as well. He'll probably be in the squad because he's versatile. He can play most positions. But as a specialist in inside centre role, I would definitely have Essays or Dialendi rather than someone who can play multiple positions but isn't settled in one spot. My only problem with Dialendi sometimes is he's not always consistent.
Yeah, he does go through dips in his game where he's not that great.
And it's the same for Estaisen, but that's why it's such a hard choice to choose between the two, that it's like almost impossible to pick. Exactly. You need to see a bit more playing between the two of them to see.
Yeah, and I think we'll see that as the World Cup comes closer, and with these warm-up games, we'll see, you know, who's more consistent, who's peaking at the right time. So. Yeah. Okay. Now our
wingers,
a very exciting talking point, our back three. Starting with the wings.
Let's start with It starts with left. Who we got for left?
Okay, so we have your Curtly answer, which for me is definitely. I mean, he's my option. He's fantastic under the high ball. He doesn't miss a ball there.
As some people are calling him the next Brian Abana.
Exactly.
See if he can fill those boots, but at this rate, he is looking quite promising.
Exactly. Start of his career. I feel like he has been given quite a bit more credit than necessarily almost deserved in the last match, where in the last few matches where he scored 3, but it was just runovers. But as we've seen in last season as well, that try he scored against England.
But he's also good at making meters, so
he
doesn't score long tries, but he's always scoring good tries. And I still remember that try when Bongi passed it to him and he ran over the line for about 10 meters. That was a very impressive try.
Pacey,
and that was very, very good at reading the game at that point. So it was a good read by him. So he seems ready.
And defensively is also great.
He seems like a very confident player as we stand, which is what we need in our team for World Cup.
Knows his abilities.
We don't need someone who's going to fold under the pressure, which I think Mapimpi will.
Unfortunately, which is now our next talking point on wing would be Mapimpi, and he had I don't know, the way he kind of got into the Springbok squad in the first place was kind of a backup option, and then he did all right, and now he stayed in. When we had Apiwe Diansi, he was our left wing.
He was very impressive.
He was really good. Unfortunately, got caught for steroids. I think, unfortunately, most people at that level
do steroids.
They probably do it or have done it. That's the only way an athlete gets to that insane heights of physical fitness. I don't think for anyone, for the human body that's possible. But yeah, Mapimpi just kind of stepped in, and after Diansi was caught, he kind of just filled his boots. He did it well for the World Cup, I must say. But after the World Cup,
he really dipped and badly, in my opinion.
Exactly, and he's kind of what puts him under Cody Arnson for me. Main thing is lack of creativity. Honestly, Arnson will, if he's in space, he'll chip it over the top or he'll go through. Mapimpi just gets the ball and he runs straight at the guy. That's all he does.
And then that's not my only problem. Is it feels like Mapimpi is lacking something when it comes to basics. He's always throwing away the ball.
Exactly.
He never keeps onto the ball and lets a ruck form. He's always throwing away the ball and playing very sloppish rugby. He's very sloppy player, in my opinion, and just not good enough compared to the Oranges.
Exactly, compared to those players. I don't think there's really any other left wing necessarily.
Right? Not that I can really think of.
Jesse Kriel.
Jesse Kriel actually played pretty well.
That guy's pretty insane.
But Andre Esterhuizen on inside, Dialendi outside, Jesse Kriel left wing.
That would be quite...
I'm not even I wouldn't complain.
That would be pretty interesting. Okay, and then right wing. This is another tough debate as well.
Because everybody will go for Colby.
Exactly. However,
he's passed 3 games, 4 games.
He didn't play terribly, but he didn't play Colby. The way we used to seeing him. When he gets the ball, and he's got 2 players in front of him, he beats those 2 players usually. And in the last 2 games, he gets the ball and then he steps into someone, the defense catches up with him, and
it seems like after he's been released by his club, it seems like he's going on a dip after that. So.
I think a mental thing maybe as well.
Yeah, if you checked, he was very sad that the club released him and stuff. So I think it could be a thing of, in a way, doubting himself and not reaching his potential like he should.
That's true, but he's always a great player. You can always pull the rabbit out the hat, so you never know what happens there. Then other right wing option would be Kenan Moody. My personal opinion on him at first was he wasn't that great for me.
He got lucky. He got a try in the first game. Pretty good try, but still.
but he the ball was right there for him. He caught it. He had an open field ahead of him after that, and I felt like he got credit too early. But in these last few games, he's really proved himself to me quite a lot. He's also safe under the high ball.
And also with his, like Curtly Arnson being creative with the chips and stuff. They're 2 very creative players. And I feel like there's a lot of creativity in the Springbok team, which is what we need at the moment. So.
Especially in that back 3, and your playmakers is really great. And what many wingers unfortunately do for me is and this is also a big factor in your defense is trust in your fellow players. But many wingers, and Mapimpi does this as well. I must say, I don't know if it maybe has something to do with the Bulls coaching, but both their wingers, being Cody Arendse and Moody, don't do this. So the wingers, they kind of stay on the outside of the field always, even if your defense is being sucked in. You always want your wings staying on the outside, just in case there is that overlap that's happening. And Moody and Arendse both do that very well for me on attack and defense. You saw that with the cross kick against the game against Argentina, where on attack, where Moody he stayed all the way down right. I think there was 10-meter gap between him and the outside center, but he made sure he stayed all the way down on the side, and that's why the cross kick worked.
And I feel like the team we're picking now is very good defensively, which is another thing that South Africa's lacked a lot of times, which has cost us a lot of points. So I feel like having that Jesse Kriel who pounces when he sees someone has the ball and always makes that tackle. The Arendse, the Moody.
The rush, rushing up.
Either Estason or Dialendi, both good tacklers.
Yeah.
Even the Peter Steph the Toy, good tackler. Reina, good tackler.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of very talented, good tacklers on the team, very good defensive players and attacking players.
Yeah, and that also kind of demoralizes the attacking team if your defense is good, because, they can't get through, they're being tackled backwards. And that's when the mistakes come, and that's when you get the ball back. Then, our favorite player of all time, most probably.
The GOAT.
On fullback, my option, and many people have criticized him, especially in the past, under the 2019 World Cup, and after that. But there was reason why he couldn't catch the ball then. Even though he didn't drop it that many times, but Philly Leroux, for me, is the complete fullback. He can kick with the left foot and the right foot.
Falls into the line.
Exactly.
He makes creative plays.
And he's fly off.
One of the top try assisters in world rugby.
Exactly. You showed me international the other colours.
I think he's third in the world or something.
Exactly.
For the most try assists.
And you see that all the time.
The most for South Africa, so
exactly
that just proves.
He makes gaps, that long floating pass over if he has to. You can put in a chip, and I think his leadership for your two wingers, bringing them together is really fantastic.
Another thing to point out is when Grant Williams got knocked out, and the guy jumped into him. Grant Williams went down straight away. Philly Leroux runs up to the ref and says, "Look at the plays on the floor." So he looked out for his squad. He actually cared, and he seems like a very good leader from the back. And he falls into the line, can play that outside center fly off kind of.
Exactly.
Very interesting player.
I feel like if he wasn't at the back, I'd almost want him as my captain. Dwayne Vermeulen is great, and I think I put him and Billy equal as captains, but I mean, you don't want your captain all the way back and fullback. And a forward captain has been kind of a traditional thing in South Africa. So, but Billy definitely brings them all together. Making play, he's actually got some pace himself. I think he's lost that with age now, but he's still pretty pacey, very hardworking. And he's just overall for me the best.
And his touchline kicking at the moment
is
it's actually
really great. Like a 50-meter kick, it's
on the line.
That's what you want, and really it doesn't matter which side of the field it is. He can kick with both feet.
Left, right.
He's really great there.
He's a great player. Always adapts.
Exactly. Other fullback options, probably Damian Willems is what they're going to want to bring in.
Personally, I don't think he's a good fullback. I would rather have him fly off inside centre if he has to play
from the bench. Yeah,
this is kind of an interesting thing, but having Jesse Kriel full back, I don't think would be horrible.
Yeah,
fast
he can
player,
play that
good tackler.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be a good spot for Jesse Kriel.
Yeah,
because he's someone who can always adapt.
And both of our wingers, Cody Arendse and Moody has played fullback before as well. They can play fullback. I think Arendse started at fullback in his Bulls career. Yeah. So there's another two fullback options. So for me, and I know there are lots of David Willems fans out there, but I don't see Willemse fitting into the Springbok squad at the moment. He has his moments of brilliance, and I must say, he played an amazing Heineken Cup. Well, okay, Heineken Cup was great, but the what's the other league called?
UOC.
It's UOC. He had a great UOC, but he's just not doing it for me at Springbok level yet. Maybe a bit more maturity, not making so many mistakes. I think he gets almost flustered. You know, he gets the ball and he's overexcited, he's over eager, and then he just messes up.
I feel like you need someone who's willing to take those runs and stuff. And for me personally, I feel like he slows down too much when he catches the ball like when he plays fullback. I feel like he slows down and he tries to step everything, but that's not always the way to go. It's better to sometimes take that kick like Philly Leroux will and get it to that 22 meter of theirs possession play.
His defense is pretty good. I'll give him that, but comparing him to Philly Leroux now, though, Philly Leroux will make space and give out the ball to the wingers to go, where Damien Willemse prefers to go himself, and I think that kind of bites him in the behind sometimes, because that is many times the reason he causes us to lose momentum. You know, if he just made that last pass, we could have made another 10 meters, but instead he decides to take him up himself and he gets tackled right there.
That's the thing, like Philly Leroux is one of the top try assisters, and he creates the tries, which Damien Willemse just doesn't.
Exactly. You almost want to say it's kind of selfish, you know, because he wants to do it all himself. I get that it is a different, he has a different style, which also isn't wrong, you know, but I don't think that style necessarily fits in with the game we're trying to play at the moment, you know. It's offloads and passes the whole time, not one person doing it himself.
Well, that's our squads, but let's do something bonus. Predictions for the World Cup. Where does South Africa end?
Where do they end? All right. Okay.
How does the group look?
How does the group look? Okay, so we have us, Scotland, Ireland, and then two other teams that don't matter.
No phase of it.
I think it's Ireland teams.
No, you know, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
There's three teams
we don't
to
have the
worry
thing in
about.
front of us right now, but it's teams we should hopefully win. I think it's like Tonga or something.
Yeah, I think it's Tonga and
it might be like Uruguay or something. But it's not. It's not really rugby nation. No offense to them, but I mean, okay, we don't want another Japan upset, but they shouldn't matter. They shouldn't give us a problem. Okay, so your predictions, are we going to get grouped? What's happening?
My prediction is it's going to be a very tough group, but I'm going to go with more of an upset, saying that we get first. So not for us, not upset for us, but I believe Ireland's going to get grouped this year and Scotland's going to pull up the upset and overtake. I feel it's going to be us, then Scotland, then Ireland. I feel Ireland's going to get knocked.
Okay. And then what's happening then in the semis, quarters?
Well, if you look at who we face the next, it's either going to be France or New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I think if we face New Zealand, I see us losing. Personally, I see it being a close game going either way. But based on the last performance and stuff, we played one of our better games of rugby, but we still couldn't just beat New Zealand. They're very on form at the moment.
Oh, really?
And I feel like France, we could beat the host nations. It's a tough one, but I feel like we can beat the host nation and make it through. And if we make it through, I don't know who we face next, but I see us making it to the finals. I don't really see us winning it again.
No.
As I believe it kind of depends if we get those 100 Pollards back, those other players back, and also on how the squad is formed and how the squad works together. So I see New Zealand, France, New Zealand or France winning.
New Zealand fast winning. All right. For me, group stages, very tough one. Scotland's really performing now. They beat France in their last game. Some people say it was a bit of a B side that France sent in. Either way, Scotland beat them, and the brand of rugby they play is really exciting, really beautiful to watch. I personally like it, and they've been playing really well their last while. Ireland, they kind of bottle in World Cups for me,
They don't perform well enough under big games.
Exactly, and if you watch the games if you watch how they play and the games they won to get to where they are now in the world rankings, they kind of it's boring, It's the type of rugby we got criticized on when we played 2019.
It's slow,
extremely slow, game. Extremely frustrating, and I guess you can compliment them on their defense because their defense is really good, and that's why teams don't score against them. But it's just
I also feel like their discipline lets them down in big games.
Yeah,
it's time and time again where they just keep on getting a card at the wrong time.
Exactly,
and conceding penalties when they shouldn't and losing the game. So
yeah, so I want to agree with you on us and Scotland going through, but it's also tough because Ireland is Ireland and they've been playing really well, and Scotland's kind of like I don't want to say B grade, but they considered below Ireland usually. But I'm going to say South Africa and Scotland going through. South Africa, if we're playing against France, I think we could win, but it's going to be a really tough game. I don't see us winning against New Zealand. New Zealand they went through a dip. Everyone thought, some people kind of almost wrote them off, and now, especially in the Super Rugby campaign, this Rugby Championship campaign, they really put themselves back on the map. They're playing that unbeatable All Black style. If you're playing against them, you're just praying there's not another try against you.
And that mentality they had when against South Africa when we played last time in the Rugby Championship, coming out super strong out of the gates, playing hard rugby, but
Exactly.
also playing that very classic New Zealand style with that creativity and that overall dominance over every team that they play against.
And also always staying calm, when they are put on the back foot, they just go back to their game, take it slowly. So they're doing really well. So I don't see us beating them. If we play against France, I see us going through. I think Scotland going to semis, personally.
It's an impossible.
I think they get knocked out just before the finals, just because they're a really good team, but in the bigger picture, they haven't really ever performed that much. I mean, you never know. You could be surprised. I'd be really happy for Scotland if they made it to finals. That'd be great. So we'll see how that goes. I think South Africa chances of winning the World Cup. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where if we do win, we're going to have that 12-year curse again. Where we're going to use up all our luck on that World Cup final, and then we're going to go through a drought because it's just we're not playing like we played under Rassi in that 2019 World Cup.
I think us winning the World Cup is dependent on those guys like Colby refinding their form and all of those big players. And one thing that is interesting to think about is when you look at a team like New Zealand, we need someone that stops the game. And that's why I think Jesse Crill's a very good player, rushing and making that first tackle, not letting them spread the ball.
Exactly. You can't have them get any momentum. You can't have them getting the ball out wide at all. Sometimes even they have a guy like Frizzell standing out wide, and you don't want that guy at pace.
Yeah,
you don't want the guy at pace.
He's phenomenal right now.
He's insane. I must say, he's pretty great. So yeah, that's our ideal Springbok squad. I think Joaquin Nova and Rassi will probably choose a slightly different team than that. You have they'll want Sia in there. They'll want
Lukhanyo.
They'll want Willemse. Mapimpi, those guys. I trust them with the selection. I mean, they know what they're doing. They're really great coaches, and I respect them. But this is just how we see it. I think how we would make the team. I think everyone kind of has their opinion. Everyone thinks the way I would make the team is the best. But yeah, we'll
the coaches really know what's going on behind the scenes, though, which we don't.
Exactly.
Can't criticize them too much.
They see what's going on in practice. They see this guy's fits. This guy doesn't show up to practice, or whatever.
We don't know. People are quick to criticize teams, but we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. So
exactly. So yeah, let's hope for the best and may the Boks win.